This is the second part of the course orientation to weather and climate lecture. I'm going to talk about how Canvas is organized and how you can work through the material on a weekly basis. So you'll notice on the front page, as I said before, that there is a basic a rundown of the major topics that we'll be covering through the semester, grouped by the weeks and also by the major thematic core. But I think the best way to understand how Canvas is laid out, how the material is laid out, is to look at the modules section you'll see in the left-hand column over here. So if we click on modules, we'll see a layout of the semester that follows essentially a weekly rhythm that's paralleled by the syllabus, so it should look fairly familiar. And each week is labeled both with the week number and the date, and what you'll see within each section are the assignments and the items that you want to work through. So as I said before, the first thing you'll be doing for this week will be making a posting in a discussion to introduce yourself and to talk about your experiences. So I asked that if you click on that first item there, you'll be taken to that discussion item where you can post a response to this prompt. And so I'm asking that everybody take time to make a posting, to introduce yourself, say your name, your major, anything else you want to share, and then talk about any kind of weird or extreme weather that you've experienced. And again, only things that you're comfortable sharing. And I encourage you also to ask questions of others or make comments, and everything should be, of course, polite and respectful and supportive. We want to encourage dialogue and conversation, and we want to get to know people. It is a graded discussion, so that means that you need to post something by the 26th, and you'll see in the upper right corner of the assignment that it says due January 26th. The due date for this assignment should also appear, your notices on the very front page when you log into Canvas. And I'll show you a couple of the ways that you can keep track of when things are due. But you'll see that it's in a lot of ways you'll get reminded when things are due. Okay, just to go back for a second to the modules page again. In a typical week, it'll look more like this. So our first full week, which is week 2, January 26th to February 1st, it will start off with chapter 1 in our textbook, and so the weeks are going to parallel the chapters for the most part. If you click on the task list, which will be the first thing you'll always see, the first item in each week, that'll lay out the things that you need to accomplish for that week. So it should be fairly clear what you need to do to get through the week and do everything that needs to get done. So they're all numbered, steps 1 through 7 in this case. So the very first thing that you're asked to do is to look at the learning outcomes, and learning outcomes are basically the big points that I'd like you to get out of the chapter or the material that we cover for the week. And it's worth reviewing those because those will let you know where we're headed and what to expect and what to look for even when you read the chapter. In fact, I would suggest that you look at those before you read the chapter so you know what you're looking for, what to focus on. Of course, you want to read the material in the textbook, and so in particular you want to pay attention to the obvious things in the textbook, the bold words, things that are highlighted, figures and maps and diagrams. We're going to use a lot of those. So you really want to pay attention to those to understand what they're showing you, so that we can help you learn the material, but also because that's what we'll be coming back to. I included a bunch of video lectures, and most weeks have several at least, and some of these lectures will be, they'll basically expand on the stuff that's covered in the textbook, and in some cases they'll be what I call video tutorials, where I'll walk through how to do something that you need to accomplish for an assignment or for the week so that you understand what the process is. So for the most part, particularly if it involves math or any kind of technical skill where you have to go online to a website, I will walk you through that process so that you see how it's done and it's as clear as possible. I don't want there to be too much confusion, but again, I encourage you to help each other out also in the discussions, which brings us to step 4. So every week there'll be a discussion relevant to that week's material, and you are expected to participate on a weekly basis. Again, those will be scored, and the more substantive your participation, again, not giving answers away, but definitely helping people to find the answers, will be scored respectively. And so again, check the syllabus to again review how to respond appropriately and what counts as a substantive response. There'll be a reading quiz, which you really shouldn't attempt until you have gone through the material and reviewed what you need to know. The nice thing is the reading quizzes you can take as many times as you like before the deadline, so you can repeatedly go after them till you get the score you want. The highest score will be retained, so that'll work to your advantage. But after the due date, they shut down, so there's no makeup for those, so you better get them done on time. Then at the end of the week, or the end of the week after we've covered that material, there'll be a final quiz, and that'll cover a lot of material that we've covered. The material, it's not a lot, it's actually, they're shorter typically than the reading quizzes, that we've gone over in the chapter, skills that we've practiced, and things that you've covered. Those you can take up to 3 times, and the highest score will be retained. Although when there are open-ended answers, those I'll only score once because it takes me time to do that. And then lastly, there's a weather and climate profile for most weeks that's also due. So you might have remembered then from the syllabus that typically the final quiz, the profile, and the discussion are all due on Sunday nights at the end of a week, so you'll want to keep on top of that. In any case, when you're in the task list, you can click on any of these hyperlinks and it'll take you directly to that next item. Or alternatively, you can click on the next button over here in the lower right, and that'll kind of walk you through sequentially through each of those items that are outlined. So again, the learning outcomes kind of lay out what the major topics or issues that you want to focus on to understand. Typically after that, I'll lay out videos. Some of them are kind of, I think, funny and interesting stuff. I try to find things that are interesting and that show you a different angle on the material that we're going to be covering. And you want to watch those. And most of these are YouTube posted, so they should work on most computers, and you can open them in YouTube directly so that they're more, you can enlarge the screen if you want a larger screen. The reading quiz, again, should attempt after you've gone through the material, which when I say material, I mean the textbook as well as the video lectures I've provided to you as well, so that you've got the information that you're going to need for that. And again, the due date are posted in a variety of places for these things. I want to point out that what you want to focus on is the due date for your assignments or quizzes, and not how when the assignments are available, because what happens is that the availability just means when the assignment is visible to you, and I leave them open a little longer in case something goes wrong with the computer at the last minute, so there's a little bit of a grace there. But in general, you should always be aiming for the due date, not when the thing is available or open. Okay, and then the final quiz will sum up everything. That's where you answer questions on both the readings as well as the other skills that we practice. And then in most weeks, again, there will be a weather and climate profile where you'll be uploading a Word document that describes the weather and climate characteristics of a place that's been assigned to you. When the assignment opens up, you'll see a link to see which place you've been assigned. All the assignments have a rubric with them. At least the weather and climate profile assignments have a rubric, so you want to follow the rubric to know how to answer it properly to get the full points on that. And again, if you have questions about the assignments, I'll have a discussion space where we can talk about that more. And also, again, encourage you to talk to each other about that if you're unclear about something. And I will certainly step in when there's misunderstandings. Okay, so that's the module. So that's basically how the modules are laid out. And again, your task list for any given week is probably your best resource for quickly getting a sense of what needs to get done that week. Everything, the due dates also will show up and let you know. The other way that you can see what's due is to click on the assignments button on the left-hand side, and you'll see the assignments laid out, and they're grouped by the type of assignment, and the assignments are also they're ordered chronologically, so you can see what's coming due to you. And you'll see that some of them are not available yet, and that's only because I haven't opened them yet, and those will open usually 2 weeks before they're due at the latest, so that you have ample time to get a handle on them. And if you want to, you can work a little bit ahead too, and that's not bad. And if you're really industrious, I can open things up earlier too. So don't hesitate to ask if you're one of those people who wants to get ahead. Okay, I will try to post grades as quickly as possible. Give a relatively quick turnaround time. Usually try to get things back to you within a week. and so you want to monitor your grades. So when you click on grades on the left-hand side, you'll see your scores. I want to point out too that by default, when you look at your grades, you'll see on the right-hand side it says calculated based only on graded assignments. So what happens then as we get further along is that it's only showing you the grades for things that you've submitted stuff for. So if you've missed assignments, it won't show you what that impact is on your overall score. So if you want to, if that happens to you, and hopefully it doesn't, but it does happen sometimes, you want to uncheck that box to see what your score is, incorporating those missed assignments. It's really important. People get misled sometimes because it basically inflates your grade. So you want to pay close attention to that because it won't show it to you otherwise. Okay, so and occasionally I'll make announcements, and the announcements will be posted here. Those should also, you should also get notified about those, and I'll talk about notification in a second. Last thing I want to talk about is the discussions here in terms of assignments that you need to submit. So again, I'm sure that most people are familiar with what a quiz is and what kind of a written assignment looks like. I think the discussions are a little different animal. So as I said, discussion participation is graded, and I do expect you to participate on a weekly basis. So to start us off, I've created a discussion called What Weird or Extreme Weather Have You Experienced? And I would like everyone to post something in there, follow the directions. I've also created a discussion space for general questions about the course called Ask the Professor, and these are questions that are relevant to how to deal with the assignments, how to interact on Canvas, kind of administrative level of questions or broad questions that other people might need to know the answer to. And so that'd be really helpful if you posted them there, so that way I can answer them so that everyone can see. You can email me too, but I would prefer that you email me when you have a personal question about that has to do with just you. But otherwise, if it's just about the class, please post those general questions here. But I think the meat of the interaction really is going to be in these weekly discussions. And so these will open up as we move through the semester, but they'll also close down. So you have a limited time in which to interact on them. And so for the coming week, you should see this weeks 1 through 2 discussion, which is about that first chapter that we're going to go through, as well as any other material that's presented in these first 2 weeks. And so what I want you to do is to use that space to make comments, make substantive comments. When you start the quizzes or the assignment and you get stuck somewhere, post that question here, okay? But I want you to try it first before you actually ask for help. And those of you who figured it out, please help someone figure it out too, again, without giving the answer away. And I will review your discussions at the end of the week, and if necessary, I'll participate too to make clarifications. But for the most part, I'd like to see everyone participate. Well, everyone should participate because it's your grade, and help each other out, and definitely be in there and be involved. It's to your advantage, and I think it helps everyone else out too. Okay, so those are the main things that you're going to be interacting with in Canvas, and it's important that you stay on top of things. So everything's got a due date. The due dates are also posted in the syllabus, so there should be no confusion about that. But I do want to talk about notification. So sometimes people have a hard time staying on top of Canvas. So you do need to log in, and you want to check on your due dates and make sure you're staying on top of them. I'll send out announcements periodically to remind you of things or to add information that wasn't posted otherwise. And depending on how you have your notifications set up, you may get that in a variety of ways. So I wanted to just point something out to you if you haven't done it before. So I'm going to leave student view for a second and go into my general view, which will look a little different than yours because I'm an instructor, obviously. But what you should see is a settings in the upper right of your Canvas page, and when you click on that and go into the settings, one of the options that you have is to control how notifications from Canvas arrive to you. And so you can add email addresses over here on the right, so that if you have another email that you use more often, that that you could add that so that you make sure that you'll hear when there's an announcement or a comment that I've made or someone else has made. And particularly for the discussions, I'm expecting you to respond when somebody makes a comment that's directed at you or a question to you. You are to respond before the due date for that discussion, because I'm holding you responsible for that too, so you want to stay on top of those things. You can actually add other kinds of contact methods too. You can actually add your phone number to get texted when there's a message in Canvas, so that if you don't use email so often, maybe that's a better way for you. And even on top of that, if you use Facebook, I mean, I know a few of you do, Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, you can add those services here so that your notification goes to those services, so that you get whatever it is that you use, you're most likely to use, you'll be notified in a timely manner. And again, timeliness is important. So just to go back to one more thing, again, because the discussions are so important to this course, what I would suggest that you do when you participate in discussions or go in to make a comment on a discussion, the first one, for example, that you make sure that you subscribe to that discussion, and that ensures that you will get notified if anybody posts a comment to the discussion, or particularly if they ask you a question, which is, again, very important that you respond. So take advantage of the Canvas's tools for keeping you in the loop and keeping you plugged in to the course. And again, look at the syllabus, look through Canvas. If you have questions about the course, please post them in the Ask the Professor discussions forum, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. And if you have a personal question, feel free to email me, and I look forward to interacting with you.